The white sheet pulled over George Ritchie's face signaled a cold finality. In the harsh winter of 1943 at Camp Barkley, Texas, the air was thick with the scent of antiseptic and despair. 20-year-old Private George Ritchie had collapsed, his body ravaged by a fever of 106 degrees. Double pneumonia had claimed him before the miracle of antibiotics could even be considered. The medical officer scribbled "deceased" on the chart with a rhythmic scratch of the pen and clicked the door shut, leaving the young soldier in the dark. His lungs were filled with fluid, his pulse had ceased, and his breath had vanished into the stillness of the room. To the world of science, George Ritchie was gone. He was a statistic of war, a life cut short in a lonely hospital ward. The doctor confirmed the death, and for 9 long minutes, silence was the only occupant of that room. But the silence was broken. An orderly returned, driven by an inexplicable urge that defied his training. He stared at the motionless bed, insisting he saw the chest move beneath the sheet. The doctor argued, dismissing the notion as a trick of the light or a desperate hope. "It is impossible," he said. Yet, the orderly stood his ground. Reluctantly, the doctor prepared a needle of adrenaline. He plunged it directly into George's heart. The metal pierced the skin, a desperate gamble against the void. Suddenly, a heartbeat flickered, then another. Against every law of medicine, George Ritchie was back. As he opened his eyes to the dim hospital lights, he carried with him the memory of a journey that would change the course of human understanding forever. He had not been resting. He had been traveling through the very fabric of existence. Years later, as a psychiatrist, George would recount those 9 minutes of clinical death. He described the surreal sensation of standing beside his own hospital bed, looking down at the pale body hidden under the sheet. He felt more alive than ever, yet he was a ghost. When he tried to speak to people in the corridor, they walked through him as if he were thin air. Confused and desperate, he found himself traveling at the speed of thought. He was suddenly in a distant bar, watching a man drink while his family prayed for his return miles away. He saw the world not through physical eyes, but through a lens of pure consciousness. He was untethered, drifting through the walls of the hospital, searching for a way back or a way forward, until the very atmosphere began to vibrate with a new, terrifying intensity. Then, the darkness vanished. A being of blinding, brilliant light stood before him, radiating a love so intense it was almost unbearable. George understood instantly that he was in the presence of Christ. The light did not speak with a voice, but with a thought that pierced his soul. "What have you done with your life to show me?" the presence asked. In that moment, a panoramic vision of his 20 years unfolded in the air around him. He saw every second of his life, not as a judge would see it, but as a pure observer. He witnessed the people he had loved and the moments of genuine connection, but he also saw the strangers he had ignored, the kindness he had failed to return, and the selfish impulses he had hidden from the world. He realized with a crushing clarity that love was the only currency that mattered in this realm. Everything else, rank, wealth, and status, was nothing but dust. The light showed him more. He saw visions of places he could only describe as hell's shadowy realms where souls were still chained to earthly desires they refused to relinquish, trapped by their own bitterness and greed. It was a vivid tapestry of human failure and divine potential. The being of light showed him that life was a precious opportunity to learn how to love, and that every choice carried an eternal weight. He felt the immense compassion of the light, a grace that accepted him despite his flaws, yet challenged him to be more. He wanted to stay in that radiance forever, to bathe in that unconditional acceptance. But the journey was not over. The light told him he must go back. He had a purpose yet to fulfill, a message to carry back to the world of the living. The transition was instantaneous, a sudden pull back toward the heavy, painful reality of his broken physical body. George woke to a shocked doctor and a new mission. Decades later, his story inspired Raymond Moody's Life After Life. George Ritchie returned with one truth. The only question that remains is what you have done with the love you were given.